Chosen one, listen closely. This message isn't for the crowd. It's not for those who fit in, who follow the rules of this world and feel at home in it. This is for you, the one who always felt like a stranger, even in familiar places. The one who questions why things never quite worked out the way they were supposed to. They don't even hide it anymore. The world has become a stage of pure evil. And while the innocent sleep, they attack in silence. Not with guns and bombs, but with confusion, manipulation, and fear. You've seen it with your own eyes. The way children are poisoned with lies. The way truth is mocked and darkness is praised. The way those who speak out are silenced. They are not just attacking people, they are attacking souls. They want to break the ones God chose. Twist their identity. Crush their spirit. And make them forget who they are. But chosen one, that's why you're here. Not to blend in. Not to run from the fire. But to walk through it with divine protection. God is not silent. He's been watching. And now he's raising voices. Voices that expose, voices that disrupt. Voices that carry fire from heaven. You are one of them. You feel it in your spirit. That unrest you carry, it's holy discomfort. It's not anxiety, it's divine urgency. Because the hour is late. They've drawn the line. And heaven is responding. Not with fear, but with power, justice, and light, high fire. This is your time to stand boldly. Even if you stand alone. Even if the world calls you crazy. Because you weren't called to be liked. You were chosen to be set apart. God will not allow the wicked to win. Their time is short. And judgment is already moving. But you're being preserved. For something bigger. For something holy. Fire, stay armored. Fire, stay alert. Fire and stay connected to the one who called you. This is not just resistance, it's revelation in motion. Subscribe to Chosen Core if this message shook your spirit. We speak truth no one else will. And we stand for the innocent, folded light fire. They want you distracted, entertained, addicted, scrolling for hours while souls are perishing, while battles are being fought in realms you can't see. But your spirit feels every blow. Chosen one, this is not paranoia. This is prophecy. The enemy has launched a full-scale spiritual assault. Families are being torn apart. Marriages collapsing. Minds being manipulated. Hearts turning cold. And those with pure intentions. They're mocked, betrayed, isolated. Why? Because purity threatens their agenda. Because the light inside you exposes their darkness. They can't stand that you still believe in good. That you still pray when no one's watching. That you carry a fire this world didn't give you. So this world can't take it away. But here's what they don't know. Every attack made against you has backfired in the spirit. Every betrayal just refined your calling. Every delay wasn't denial. It was divine timing sharpening your sword. You are not behind. You're being hidden. Not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness. And now God is saying, enough. The wicked will not prosper forever. The systems built on lies will collapse. And those who harmed the innocent will see the wrath of the one they mocked. But you will rise. You'll be vindicated publicly for what you endured silently. You'll be restored double for what was stolen. And the pain you carried in private will become the platform God uses in public. Because heaven never forgets the cries of the innocent, never overlooks the suffering of the righteous, and never abandons those who were chosen from birth. The ones they laughed at, the ones they left behind, the ones who cried out with no reply from man. God heard them all. Chosen one, you were never crazy. You were never too sensitive. You were never weak for feeling deeply. That was your discernment. That was your spirit sounding the alarm. While others slept in deception, you saw through the masks, felt the evil behind the smiles, knew something wasn't right, even when everyone else said, "Relax, it's normal." But you were never meant to live a normal life. You were born for disruption, for revelation, for divine confrontation with the forces of darkness. That's why the attacks against you were personal. That's why people you loved turned on you. That's why the betrayal hurt so deeply. Because the enemy used familiar faces to try and break your trust in God. But it didn't work. You may have bent, but you never broke. You may have cried, but you never quit. And because of that, heaven is activating justice. You're about to witness the reversal, the divine flip, where those who schemed get exposed, where those who mocked get silenced, where those who endured get crowned. The war was never just about you. It was about what's inside you. The mantle, the message, the mission. You carry something that hell fears. And now the kingdom of heaven is calling it forward. Louder, stronger, unapologetically. They tried to shut you up, but they forgot. God gives the final word. And now the alarms in the spirit are ringing louder than ever. Can you hear them? This is not just chaos. It's contraction pains before divine birth. A new era is being born, and the old systems are shaking. The kingdom of darkness is trembling, because God is awakening his chosen ones, not just to survive, but to lead. You weren't just chosen to escape. You were chosen to confront, to expose lies, to break chains, to rebuild altars that this world tried to destroy. That's why your life couldn't be normal. That's why comfort was always denied to you. Because comfort creates compromise. And God didn't place you here to compromise with evil. Chosen one, understand this. You were trained in silence, built in the shadows, forged in fire, not for applause, but for impact. And now that season of hiddenness is ending. Those who underestimated you will witness your rise. Those who used you will see God use you for glory. Because everything you went through was not in vain. Every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every silent tear, it all counted. Heaven took record. And now repayment is coming. Not just in blessings, but in bold assignments. You will walk into places no one thought you'd reach. You will speak with authority no one thought you carried. And you'll move with a presence the world cannot explain. Because it's not just you walking. It's the power of God moving through you. And when you walk into those rooms, they'll feel something shift. Not because of your clothes, not because of your status, but because of the anointing you carry. The atmosphere will respond to you. Demons will get restless. Hidden agendas will start to shake. Because your presence carries kingdom authority. You didn't earn it through titles. You earned it through tears, through sacrifice, through choosing obedience when no one saw. While others chased platforms, you were being processed in private. While others built image, you built intimacy with God. And now the very ones who rejected you will need the oil that's on your life. Because God doesn't anoint the popular. He anoints the prepared. And you, chosen one, you've been prepared in pain, prepared in pressure, prepared in seasons where you had nothing but your faith. They laughed when you said God would use you. They rolled their eyes when you shared your vision. But what they didn't see was who stood behind you. the Lion of Judah, the consuming fire, the God of justice. And he's no longer silent. He's raising his remnant, the overlooked, the outcast, the misfit. You're part of that holy uprising, not soft, not silenced, but bold, set apart, and untouchable by the enemy's schemes. That's why you've been through so much. Because what's coming through you is going to shake foundations, tear down strongholds, and establish heaven's blueprint on earth. Every delay was divine. Every closed door was God's protection, because he wouldn't allow anything to pollute what he was planting inside you. You were hidden, not rejected. You were slowed down, not forgotten. You were crushed, but not destroyed. The enemy tried everything: confusion, distraction, heartbreak. But none of it worked. Why? Because there's a seal on your life that hell can't touch. A covenant that was written in heaven before you ever took your first breath. That's why you couldn't settle for less. That's why fake friendships started falling off. That's why your soul started rejecting anything that didn't match your purpose. You're not just chosen to survive evil. You're chosen to confront it head-on. You walk with discernment that exposes darkness. You speak words that pierce the unseen. You carry a frequency that demons recognize and fear. And now, God is calling you to rise without apology. No more shrinking. No more explaining. No more waiting for permission to be what he already anointed you to be. This world is growing darker, but the light inside you is growing brighter. And that light is about to cut through the chaos like a sword. You will break generational chains. You will carry deliverance in your voice. You will stand on stages you never auditioned for, because favor will announce you before man can deny you. This isn't ambition. This is assignment. And when you walk in divine assignment, heaven backs every single step. That's why the warfare intensified before your breakthrough. It wasn't random. It was strategic. Because the enemy knew what was about to be released through you. He saw your dreams. He heard your prayers. He watched as you kept worshiping. Even when life tried to break you, you became a threat the moment you refused to bow. Bow to fear. Bow to rejection. Bow to the system. You stayed standing when it would have been easier to quit. You stayed pure when compromise surrounded you. You stayed faithful when no one clapped for you. That's what makes you dangerous. Not your appearance. Not your resume. But your spirit, trained in fire, tested in silence, anchored in truth. You don't need the approval of this world. You carry the authorization of heaven. And now God is placing a heavenly mantle over your life. One that comes with clarity, with protection, with supernatural acceleration. Things will begin to move quickly now. Doors will open that no man can shut. Connections will align that only God could orchestrate. But don't get distracted by the spotlight. You weren't raised for fame. You were raised for warfare. Your influence is not for ego. It's for impact. To free others. To awaken the sleeping. To confront the wicked. And to declare, God is not done yet. You were built for the storm. That's why you're still standing. Others folded under pressure. But pressure only revealed your foundation. One that was never built on trends, applause, or titles, but on the unshakable rock of God. You don't just carry a calling. You carry fire in your bones. Fire that can't be quenched by mockery. Fire that can't be silenced by fear. Fire that demands to be released. And it's not just for you. It's for the captives around you. The silent ones watching you in secret. The broken ones waiting for someone to step up and speak truth. That's why your voice is under attack. That's why your identity has been targeted. Because the enemy knows. Once you fully walk in who you are, you'll shake kingdoms. This isn't about going viral. This is about going vertical, aligning with heaven's flow, moving with heaven's timing, and obeying heaven's orders, even when it costs everything. Chosen one, you're not called to play it safe. You're called to burn bright in enemy territory, to bring thunder into silence, to bring truth into deception, to bring God's presence into places He's been pushed out of. You are the answer to prayers someone else prayed. You are the breakthrough someone else is waiting to see. You are the sign that God is still raising up warriors in the last days. So stand tall, speak loud, move boldly, because heaven backs the brave. You were never just a person. You were a spiritual weapon in disguise. That's why the enemy tried to confuse your identity early. He wanted you lost. He wanted you numb. He wanted you to forget who you are and whose you are. But despite the lies, despite the trauma, despite the storms meant to bury you, you remembered. Maybe not all at once. Maybe through pain. Maybe through isolation. But piece by piece, God kept awakening you. And now you don't just believe, you know. You know you're chosen. You know your steps are ordered. You know your pain had purpose. And that knowledge, it terrifies hell. Because a chosen one who knows who they are can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, can't be bought. That's why you were isolated. To sharpen your discernment, to develop your spiritual ears, to hear God clearly without the noise of the crowd. Because your next moves require precision. Not popularity, not hype, but divine instruction. And He's giving it to you. Downloads, visions, warnings. A spiritual sharpness that cuts through the fog. You're not just waking up. You're being activated. For territories, for souls, for generational shifts. This isn't a season of survival. It's a season of divine advancement. And nothing will stop the force God has placed behind you. They thought they buried you, but they didn't realize. You were a seed. And in the darkness, in the silence, in the pressure they thought would crush you, God was birthing a movement through you. Now you carry something different. A presence they can't explain. A wisdom beyond your years. An authority that didn't come from books, but from battles survived. You walk different now. You speak different. You see through fake love, empty words, and surface-level spirituality. Because you've been in the trenches with God. You know what it feels like to wrestle in the night and rise in the morning with fresh fire in your chest. You know the sound of God's whisper when no one else is around. You know what it means to be held together by grace alone, and now He's giving you territory, not just physical ground, but spiritual influence. Rooms that once rejected you will now make space for you. Voices that once mocked you will now go silent in your presence. Because it's no longer about you. It's about the God who sent you. He's stretching your capacity, training your hands for war and your fingers for battle, placing weapons in your mouth, and giving you eyes that see beyond the natural. You've crossed the line. There's no going back. No more dimming your light. No more shrinking to fit in. You are fully stepping into the warrior you were born to be. You feel it, don't you? The weight of the calling, the urgency in your spirit, the way your soul rejects anything fake, anything shallow, anything less than truth. That's not heaviness. That's heaven's mantle. You're not being crushed, you're being commissioned. Every restless night, every unanswered why, every closed door you didn't understand. It was all shaping you, not for a normal life, but for a divine assignment that carries eternal weight. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to break through, to shift atmospheres just by walking in the room, to carry such presence that it confronts hidden darkness without you saying a word. That's what oil does. It disturbs demons. It shifts timelines. It awakens the slumbering. And the oil on your life, it's not cheap. It cost you relationships. It cost you comfort. It cost you seasons of deep loneliness where only God understood your tears. But now He's pouring back in what was poured out. He's restoring what you thought was gone forever. And He's rebuilding you stronger, on truth, on fire, on unshakable faith. You are not a victim of your past. You are a weapon formed in it. And every scar tells a story of how hell lost, again and again. Now God is saying, enough wandering, it's time to walk in authority. You've been trained in secret. Now you'll be used in power. You're not stepping into just another season. You're stepping into your divine assignment fulfilled. This is the moment the enemy tried hardest to block. Because he knew, once you stepped into alignment, everything would shift. And now that you've crossed over, the attacks increase. But so does the anointing. The warfare is heavy. But so is the weight of glory resting on your shoulders. You've become a spiritual threat. Not because of your appearance, but because of your obedience. Because of the prayers you prayed when no one clapped. Because of the standards you held when compromise was easy. Because of the yes you gave God when it cost you everything. You were never after comfort. You were after kingdom purpose. That's why God is trusting you with more. More responsibility. More clarity. More influence. Not to elevate you, but to establish heaven through you. You'll speak and people will feel the shift. You'll move and doors will open. You'll pray and chains will break. Because you've been refined by fire. Not to be consumed by it, but to carry it. The fire that purifies. The fire that exposes. The fire that leads others back to the throne. You're no longer just a witness to the battle. You're a key part of the war plan. And now, chosen one, the time for silence is over. The time for hesitation is over. This is your call to rise fully. To step into everything God has equipped you for. You weren't preserved to stay hidden. You were prepared to be unleashed. Heaven is backing you. Hell is terrified of you. And the earth is waiting on your obedience. Speak when others stay quiet. Stand when others sit back. Shine when others hide in the dark. You were born to disrupt. You were born to confront. You were born to carry heaven's justice into enemy territory. This is your moment. Not next year. Not when you feel ready. Now. Fire, step into your assignment with fire. Fire, declare truth without fear. Fire, move with the authority of the chosen. And if this message lit something deep inside you, if your spirit knows this wasn't just a video, it was a divine confirmation, then subscribe now to Chosen Core. We don't water it down. We don't play it safe. We speak what heaven is saying. Because the time is short. And the warriors must rise, crossed fire.